What's going on, Pack-A-Day members? Thanks so much for joining me today on our members-only Q&A. It is a very fun time of year, and that we're seeing all of these Packers transactions and all the moves throughout the course of the league. Today, Green Bay putting together their likely 17-man practice squad. It seems like maybe it could take some time, or they could be adding some players from different teams, certainly, just kind of based on what we're seeing so far. Just to kind of give you guys an update on where things are at today. We do not have there's no waiver claims. Green Bay did not claim anybody off of waivers. They also did not have any of their players claimed off of waivers. So if you were concerned about anybody potentially being picked up by another team, that was not the case. And it just, again, really not trying to be, again, a hater or anything like that. But for those that were like ultimately really concerned about like, oh my God, I can't believe they let Kalen King go or something like that. They cut him twice. And nobody around the league either time has put in a claim nor tried to sign him off of Green Bay's practice squad. So it tells you, again, not just what Green Bay thinks, but it tells you kind of what the rest of the league thinks as well. As far as where we are at, as far as where we're at with practice squad, we know that so far, per reports, Will Shepard, wide receiver, Brant Banks, offensive tackle, Isaiah Nayer, wide receiver, McCole Hardman, wide receiver, and James Esther, defensive tackle, are the 5 players that are back in the practice squad so far. Cornelius Johnson, the wide receiver, Taylor Elgersma, Julian Hicks, Sean Clifford, Kalen King, Lacita Smith, and Kadeem Telfort all will not be back on the practice squad. So again, Elgersma, Hicks, Clifford, King, Lacita Smith, Kadeem Telfort, Cornelius Johnson, not on the practice squad. And now there was just a report as well from Easton Butler that Jalen Simpson will be added back to the practice squad as well. So that's where your practice squad stands right now. 6 players in. Again, no waiver claims. Nobody claimed off of waivers. And those 6 players, as of now, Jalen Simpson, James Esther, McCole Hardman, Isaiah Nayer, Brant Banks, Will Shepard, 10 to go, plus an international pathway program player. And one of those will absolutely be a quarterback. There's been a lot of Clayton Thune rumblings. We'll see if he actually makes it to Green Bay. He was not claimed by any team. And now we may just have to see if he ends up with Green Bay, Arizona, or another team altogether. But it would be a really nice signing for Green Bay to get Thune on the practice squad. And again, Clifford and Elgersma are not going to be back. All right, with that, let's get to all of your incredible questions. If you are here, by the way, and you are not a member, that means you are listening after the fact. Make sure to check out those Pack-A-Day podcast memberships so you can join live, ask the questions, get your questions answered, and then don't have to wait for it to be released later. Definitely check those out. There's a lot of great options out there for you over on YouTube. All right. Cheestradamus, thank you so much, first of all, for the super chat. The Packers are the youngest team for the 3rd consecutive year. They average 25.2 years of age. The Commanders have the oldest at 28.1. Week 2 will be the oldest against the youngest teams. Yeah, I saw a lot of commentary, I'll just put it, on the Packers being the youngest team again. I don't care about youth. I care about experience. And it would tell you, right, that the younger teams are going to have less experience. The older teams are probably going to be more experienced. It's not just playing in games. It's playing in meaningful games. If I look at the core of this team, Jordan Love, he's played now in 3 playoff games and in 2 consecutive postseasons. Josh Jacobs, very experienced player, obviously was in the postseason for Green Bay this past year. Wide receiver, Romeo Doubs, Dontavian Wicks, Jaden Reed, McCole Hardman back in the practice squad, Malik Heath. These are players who have gone and played in playoff games in back-to-back seasons. Same thing with Tucker Kraft and Luke Musgrave. Same thing with Rasheed Walker. Elton Jenkins, very experienced player. Aaron Banks, very experienced player for San Francisco. Zach Tom at right tackle. Sean Ryan, all these players, a lot of playoff, or not a lot, but I mean playoff experience, at least in back-to-back years, or in the case of Banks and Josh Jacobs, certainly veterans with a lot of experience, and certainly in Banks' case, a lot of playoff experience as well. Rashawn Gary, LVN, Devontae Wyatt, Kenny Clark, all playoff experience. Edgerrin Cooper in his first year, playoff experience. Quay Walker, back-to-back years of playoff experience. You know, so we can go on and on. Keyshawn Nixon, veteran at this point, playoff experience. Carrington Valentine, maybe a little bit of a forgettable playoff game against Philadelphia last year where his head got dribbled off of the turf, but playoff experience. Nate Hobbs, veteran, right? Not as much playoff experience, but certainly a veteran in this league. Xavier McKinney, veteran. And then, Evan Williams, playoff experience this past year as well. So yes, this is a team that has some young players. They are still a very, I would say on the up and coming team. But this is not a team that with their core players, you can add in Daniel Whelan, Brandon McManus, Matt Orchak, all of them playoff experience. And in McManus's case, a veteran, a well-vested veteran at this point. They have the veteran leadership. They have the experience in playoff games, both winning and the heartbreak of losing in back-to-back years. That stuff toughens you up as a player. That makes you more hungry. That tells you where you need to get if you want to be a legitimate contender. So I have no issue with them being the youngest team. By the way, younger usually, not always, but usually can mean healthier, less wear and tear on the body. And if that can be the case as well, where Green Bay has a leg up on staying healthier through the course of the season, that has to play out. We're not seeing it so far. They're very banged up at the moment. But if they can stay healthier through the course of the year, and again, not have as much wear and tear on their bodies, while also being playoff experience along the way, I have no issue with them with where their age is at. And again, we're not talking about like the Packers are 23 years of age on average and the Commanders are 31. We're not talking like an 8-year age gap here. As you point out, we're talking less than 3 years different in age. And I think a lot of those older veteran players are on the decline in Washington. No, a lot of them aren't, Jaden Daniels, et cetera, but some of them are. Green Bay has very few players, but maybe Kenny Clark, that are in that on the decline side of things. It's just not, they don't exist really in Green Bay at the moment. So yeah, I think that's a good thing more than a bad thing, but they're certainly going to have to go out and prove that they're capable of winning playoff games at a high level this upcoming season. All right, just trying to keep an eye on if there's any other practice squad updates. Do not see any as of yet. In your professional opinion, Andy, is Bo Melton a better DB than Eric Stokes? Ooh, that's an interesting question. I can tell you wholeheartedly that if I could have my choice between Eric Stokes and Bo Melton being on the roster in Green Bay, I would unequivocally take Bo Melton. I think he's got upside as a corner. I like what he brings to the table, wide receiver versatility. Also, I think can play outside and inside corner and can be everywhere on special teams. There is more value to that at a cheaper price than where Eric Stokes is at currently. So I would rather have Bo Melton than Eric Stokes. If you asked me right now, it has to be the right wide receiver, because like just the Justin Jeffersons, the really great route runners of the world really gave Eric Stokes a hard time. Not that they potentially wouldn't with Bo Melton either. But if you said, Cortland Sutton's a great example. You've got Cortland Sutton one-on-one, and you can have Eric Stokes or Bo Melton on them. Who do you want? I would probably lean towards Eric Stokes in a one-on-one situation, like man-to-man on the outside. So in certain situations, I would probably take Eric Stokes. But to be totally transparent, had zero appetite for Eric Stokes remaining on this team. I think it was time for everyone, Green Bay and Eric, to go in different directions and see where their, separate paths take them. And I would, again, much rather have Bo Melton on this team as a do-it-all player that maybe in certain situations isn't quite maybe the outside corner that Eric Stokes is, but I don't think it's that far off. And I think there's a much better upside there, not to mention all the other stuff Bo Melton can do as well. All right, what's the difference between a cut, a release, and a waive? All right, so a cut and release, there's no difference. They're just different words for the same thing. Waive means that they go on waivers, that you have to waive the player, and then they go through the 32-team waiver process. So anyone that's not a vested veteran for now will go through waivers. If you are a vested veteran right now, you are released. You could also call it cut. And at that point in time, you just become a unrestricted free agent. Now, once week 1 is over and you cut a player, or again, whatever you want to call it, everyone goes to waivers at that point. So technically everyone is a waiver, regardless of where you're at with your vested veteran status or anything like that. So once you are on the roster week 1 and you are waived, you are subject to waivers for everyone. You don't just automatically become a free agent. But in general, release or a release / what most people call cut is that you are, again, able to go sign with anyone right away. Waived means you're going on waivers. You don't get to choose, by the way. There's rules that govern which one of them that you are. And then if you're waived injured, it means that you have an injury designation. You waive them, telling the rest of the league that this player is injured. And one of two things will happen. Either the team that claims them will take on that injury and that responsibility. So if you're going to have to put them on IR or have an injury settlement, the team that claims them takes that on. And if they don't, then they revert back to injured reserve for the team that waived them injured. And then you usually work out an injury settlement for there. Willie Lampkin, the undersized offensive lineman for the Rams, was a waived injured. You rarely see players who are waived injured claimed. Lampkin was by the Philadelphia Eagles, which says how much they viewed him as a potential player. He now will probably go on IR for Philadelphia, probably designated to return at some point, but an interesting sort of transaction there. But those are sort of the differences and nuances between the verbiage there. Any interest in Cole Strange? He was not claimed. So practice squad, absolutely. I'll take a former first round pick, put him on my practice squad and see if you can make something of him. I would have no issue with that whatsoever. I think, you have a defensive line coach in Green Bay, in DeMarcus Covington, who has worked against Cole Strange day in and day out. So if I'm Goody, the first thing I'm doing is making a phone call to Covington or going down to his office and saying, hey, what do you think of this guy? And if Covington's like, no, dude, stay away, then I'm just going to stay away. And if he's like, yeah, get him on the practice squad, I think we could make something of him, then I'm going to go and try to see if I can get him on the practice squad. But not claimed, but if you can get him on the practice squad for me, assuming it would get signed off by Covington, I would definitely be for that. Don't know if you covered this, but whoever Orzech's agent is, he deserves at least 80% of that contract. To trick the Packers into making him the third highest paid long snapper is crazy highway robbery. Well, first of all, I think he's a good long snapper, so I don't have a major issue with that one way or the other. Second of all, like the third highest paid, long snapper in the NFL is like the third highest paid like Taco Bell worker. Like you're paying them, maybe a larger cost than maybe some of the other Taco Bell workers, but you've got engineers and doctors and everything else making all this money. And this is no disrespect to Taco Bell workers. I'll just say fast food workers, right? That's no disrespect to them either. But you get kind of the point that I'm saying. They're so bargain basement cheap anyway for long snappers that making him the third highest paid long snapper doesn't really mean much in the whole scheme of things. So good on his agent. And I do think it made sense for Green Bay to kind of lock him up. And I would assume that the next sort of move there for Green Bay is going to lock up Daniel Whelan as well. So you can just lock in your punter, your kicker, and your long snapper for the foreseeable future and not have to worry about those positions for, hopefully years coming up. When do the Packers practice over the course of the next couple weeks? So today they are practicing at 3:10. Only the individual period is open to the media. And then once they do team periods, we're locked out. They are practicing tomorrow. And again, same thing, 9:15 a.m. That'll be open to the media for the individual periods. And then we get kicked out again. And all right, so Tyler Cooper and JJ Lippy will not be returning to the Packers. So two more players not returning to the practice squad, Priest and Butler. And then no availability for media Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I don't know if there's going to be practices that are just not open to the media, but no open availability Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And then they'll kick off regular season week next week, like a normal week with practices, walkthroughs, everything that they would do in a normal week coming up next week. Salute, by the way, a bit rude to just jump straight into a question. R.R. Smith, you don't have to introduce yourself, my friend. You are totally good, and I just appreciate all the great questions every single time. As far as the football, the only thing that I'm concerned with is injuries, hoping that guys are able to get back and in rhythm ASAP. I think two things, multiple things, right? Injuries, pass rush, and just can you have a couple of these players like an Edgerrin Cooper, a Tucker Kraft, Jordan Love, etc., take that next step going from really good players to star players in this league. I do think that they need to have a couple more of these players, a couple of these players that ultimately are able to make it into that level of becoming big time players in this league. And so those are the three things I'm looking for: injuries, pass rush, and can some of these players evolve into stars? Hello, Andy and everyone from Paris, France. Longtime listener, first time subscriber. Thanks, Andy, for all your amazing work. I'm not Renault Cello. Thank you so much for signing up. That means a ton, and glad you were able to make it today. And hello, I need to get to Paris, France, by the way. So at some point, I might need to hit you up on ideas on what to do when I go there, but definitely want to get there sometime in the near future. All right. Happy Wednesday, Andy. Hardman is back. Also, my first Luigi's Supreme Pizza, and it was pretty good. Pretty good. Come on. Comparable to Home Run, which is my favorite. We'll try more options before it can properly rank. Yeah. I don't know if you got the fresh dough or the ultra thin crust or the Big Daddy or which one you got, but definitely try the variety because I am torn between the ultra thin crust and the fresh dough, but they're two very different pizzas. And I love both of them to death. But if maybe one of them's not your cup of tea, try the other because it probably will be. They are incredible, my friend. When do waivers actually get released? And do you know if the Packers claimed anyone? They are released. They did not claim anyone, nor did they have anyone claimed. Also heard neither Clifford or Gersma will be back on the practice squad. That is the report as well. Packers just signed McCole Hardman to the practice squad. They did. Do you have any concern with Jordan only getting a couple drives in the preseason along with the time he missed with the thumb? Yes, but it's on the pretty minor spectrum of things. I want to see how he can manage that thumb, kind of going forward. Johnny Lumpkin not returning to the practice squad as well, but I want to see how he manages that thumb. I'm hoping that they don't have to go in week 1 against Detroit, having to do just shotgun and pistol stuff, that he can take snaps from under center. That's going to be a key one. And I do have some concern about the rhythm and timing. My hope is he's able to go pretty full board today, and that his receivers, Jaden Reed, Dontavian Wicks, Savion Williams, are out there sooner rather than later. And they can start getting that rhythm over the next couple weeks here, or I guess week and a half. But a small concern, but those guys are veterans now. They know how to play, I guess, outside of Matthew Golden. And it's going to be up to them to, regardless of missed practice time and things like that, to get that chemistry down, be ready for Detroit week 1. It probably is going to take a little bit more attention to detail over the next week and a half, but hopefully they're up for it. And hopefully they can come out against Detroit really, really strong with that offense firing on all cylinders. What's up, Andy? How are we doing on this lovely Wednesday? Tristan, I am doing phenomenal. Thanks for being here. Parsons, Chris, your guess is as good as mine. I hope so, but who knows at this point? No news at the moment. Are you planning to go to any game this year in the stands as opposed to the press box? I am. It is just making sure I've got the right one here. I go to one every year with my friends. Last year I went to one with my oldest son. I talked to him this year and he was kind of like, he's not sure yet. So maybe we'll end up going to one. But my friends and I are going to the Bengals one on October 12th. So I will be in the stands for that particular game. I'll likely know live post-game show from me after, probably have a couple beverages. Like I said, fan in the stands, Andy, is a little bit different than usual post-game Q&A and asking Matt LaFleur questions in the press conference, Andy. So that'll be a fun one. Really looking forward to Joe Burrow versus Jordan Love in that particular game. Hendon Hooker, maybe. I think that's a possibility. I think Clayton Thune's kind of been the name out there, but I would not rule out Hendon Hooker entirely. Peter, good to see you. I remembered our boy Swinson got released. Any chance we get him on the practice squad? I did just see the report that the Patriots are bringing him back to their practice squad. View him a la Cox, but a speed rusher more than a power rusher. Yeah, I did really like Braden Swinson. I was surprised that A, he got cut by New England. B, he did not get claimed by anyone, and he is going back to New England's practice squad. I said it, but both quarterbacks, and look for another option at QB3. I will happily take Will Shepherd back. Yes, Will Shepherd is back. And to your point, they are looking for a new number 3 quarterback. Do you think Dallas keeps Parsons, giving rumored Packers trade offer? My default would be yes. I will be surprised if they trade him. I will not be stunned or shocked. I think there's enough smoke out there that it could happen, but I'll believe Micah Parsons is traded when he gets traded. I think ultimately what we're going to hear here is that Micah Parsons is the highest paid defensive player. He will stay in Dallas, and that all of this was some big crazy charade and circus perpetrated by one Jerry Jones, who loves charades and circuses. It's his thing. And ultimately he'll be playing week 1 against Philadelphia on Thursday Night Football. But they've got to get something done soon. I do know there's some vitriol there seemingly between Micah Parsons and the Cowboys organization. But I'll still, if I were betting today, would say that he is a Dallas Cowboy more than anything else. All right. Shepard is going to be on the 53 at some point this year. Book it. Well, hopefully not, because I don't want any injuries at wide receiver. Plus, you've got Christian Watson coming back at some point. Plus, you have McCole Hardman on the practice squad. It's possible, but I think he's probably a little bit behind the 8 ball right now with, 6 active guys on the roster, Watson coming back from injury, and McCole Hardman probably being the next guy up. He's probably at best number 9 wide receiver on the roster. I do like him, but I think if he gets on an active game day roster, you're probably looking at least 4 injured wide receivers, and I don't think we want to be in that position. Okay, so let's talk about this. Elgersma and King, per reports, are not going to be back with the team. I do want to remind everyone that this is a two-way street. Green Bay does not have any autonomy or say over whether these players come back to the practice squad. Just because they were the ones that released them or drafted them or brought them in originally or any of it, once you are released and you go unclaimed, you are free. you can go sign with any team's practice squad and are not bound to Green Bay in any way, shape, or form. We do not know if this was a Green Bay decision or if this was a Taylor Elgersma and Kalen King decision. If I had to guess, I would guess that the Elgersma decision is the Packers, that they did not bring him back and are going to go with a different quarterback, which I agree with. That's what I would do in that situation as well. As I talked about on today's pod and tweeted out as well, if I'm Kalen King and I'm Kalen King's agent, I was a 7th round pick by this team on a team that never, ever releases draft picks. And he was released last year as a draft pick and now released this year again. In the meantime, Kamal Hadden, who was a draft pick in the 6th round, not even by Green Bay, gets picked up on the Packers practice squad well after Kalen King had been here. And they brought up Kamal Hadden to the active roster last year before they brought up Kalen King. So he already sort of got jumped in that rotation. Then this year, they keep said player, Kamal Hadden, and keep a 7th round pick this year, Micah Robinson, who, if I'm Kalen King, I'm going to say, you think he outperformed me because I was better than him in camp and preseason. And they kept a wide receiver turned corner ahead of me as well. So if I am Kalen King, I'm saying you cut me twice as a 7th round draft choice. You went with 3 players that I think I was either better than or at least in the conversation with. There's no way I'm going back on the practice squad. You had your chance. I'm going to take a shot somewhere else because clearly I'm not making it here. I don't know. Maybe it was mutual. Maybe it was Green Bay's decision. Maybe it was Kalen King's decision. My guess is Green Bay probably would have wanted him back in the practice squad. I can't imagine why they wouldn't have. It would have only made sense to bring him back. But again, if I'm Kalen King, there's no chance. There's no chance I'm going back there after they cut me twice after being a draft pick. And I'm going to go take my chances somewhere else. If I had to guess, that would be my guess as to what happened. Will Isaiah Simmons be back? I don't know. My guess is no, but we have a lot of practice squad spots still available. And he is, thus far, I've not seen any tweet about him either coming back or not coming back to the practice squad. So again, my guess is no, but we'll definitely be kind of keeping an eye on it to see who they bring back and if that's Isaiah Simmons or not. But if I had to guess, I would say probably not. Are you saying he was claimed by or brought to the practice squad by Jacksonville, or if he's just a guy? I think you mean just a guy. I think he's a little bit better than that. But again, I've been on it all along. I'm understanding very much so why they did not bring him back. I would bring back Dumas Johnson before Isaiah Simmons. I am really hoping Jamin Johnson. He's dropped the Dumas, by the way. It's Jamin Johnson. I would bring him back too. I'm really hopeful that he's one of the next ones that we get some clarity on because I would really like to see him back in Green Bay. I thought his jump from the first preseason game where he really struggled to the second and third games was really, really impressive. And I thought at the end, like there was maybe even a small chance that he would make the 53. I didn't, excuse me, I didn't expect it, but I wouldn't have been totally stunned by it either. No Izzy on the practice squad. I had not seen that one reported anywhere, but I will take your word for it. Just going to go through really quick, see if there's anyone else I can find. Yeah, I have not seen that one come through. But I'll credit you on the report here, Chris. Yeah, not going to tweet it out, but I'll take a look at that once I'm done in the chat here. I think this is the first time in a long time that I'm confident in our special teams. Don't do it. Don't do it. Famous last words. Let's see. A couple quarterbacks here. Easton Stick to the practice squad for the Falcons. Jake Haener goes to the Saints back on the practice squad. So a couple quarterbacks in spots there. But yeah, never trust the special teams. Tristan, you know better. You know better. It doesn't matter how good they look. Doesn't matter how excited we are about who they got and what changes they've made. They're still going to suck. Let's just be real here. The special teams is probably going to disappoint. I am with you. I do think that there is some actual hope there, but I've said to myself, I will never have hope for special teams ever again in my lifetime. I'm not going to do it. You can't make me, Tristan. So I hope you're right. Go on and have all the hope that you want, but be ready to be, just shattered and stabbed in the back when they're the 28th ranked special teams, because it's just what Green Bay does. They get Hall of Fame quarterbacks and they suck at special teams. That's their MO. And I will be fine if that stays the same for forever. By the way, if that's the trade-off, I will gladly take it. All right. What are your thoughts about all the UFA starters coming up? Who will we sign? Who will we let go? Does the number of players who will need contracts concern you for coming years? No, I'll take a look at this in a episode at some point, probably a bye-week episode, if I'm being honest. But you look at 2026, off the top of my head, Jordan Love's still here. Josh Jacobs still here. Matthew Golden, Dontavian Wicks, Jaden Reed, Savion Williams still here. Tucker Kraft, Luke Musgrave still here. Offensive line gets trickier, but theoretically, Jordan Morgan, Jordan Morgan, Aaron Banks, Elton Jenkins, Zach Tom, and Anthony Belton, all 5 of them still there. So you theoretically have a starting 5. Rashawn Gary, LVN, Devontae Wyatt, and Kenny Clark still there. You can go Edrin Cooper and Tyron Hopper still there. Keyshawn Nixon, Nate Hobbs, Carrington Valentine still there. Xavier McKinney, Evan Williams, Javon Bullard still there. Brandon McManus and Matt Orzik still there. Daniel Whelan is a restricted free agent. So yes, there are some players that you potentially could lose. Rasheed Walker, Sean Ryan, Christian Watson, Romeo Dobbs. I don't need to name all of them. Quay Walker. But I just made a starting lineup for you guys that is, in my opinion, really, or at least has the ability to be really freaking good. And that's with letting everyone walk, signing no free agents, and not drafting a single player next year. And they will surely bring some of those guys back, probably bring in a value free agent or 2, and have a full draft class at their disposal. So, a couple of them may be slightly worrisome offensive line for sure, but they have every right, if they want to bring back this entire almost, a starting caliber team as is. And I don't have any major concerns with it at the moment. Now, Kenny Clark and Elton Jenkins could be release candidates. And now your offensive line gets a little more thin. Your defensive line, gets a little bit more thin. That makes it a little bit more intriguing. But if you do that, you have more salary cap space and can go and do some other things as well. So no, I think they're going to be fine. They just need the young players that they have on this roster to continue to rise, step up, and be ready for those opportunities. Guys like Tyron Hopper. If Quay Walker does leave next year and you don't give him a big contract, is Tyron Hopper ready to step up, be as good, if not better, than what Quay Walker's been in Green Bay so far? Is Nate Hobbs good to go for week 1? I just haven't heard anything about him. We do not know. We're going to get a better look at who's practicing and who's not practicing today out at practice, but that's going to be our first tell of where sort of these injuries are at going into that first week of the regular season. My wife and I fell in love with offensive lineman Joe Huber of Wisconsin, who made Minnesota's roster as a undrafted free agent. Thought he would have been a great addition to our team. He had 5 position versatility. It was a really good sign. They had a really great undrafted free agent class. Their quarterback from Minnesota, Brosmer, looked really, really good. I mean, really, really good. And then Huber looked really, really good. Elijah Williams is a defensive end that they not only was not a undrafted free agent, he was a tryout player. Elijah Williams was. He was a tryout player and made the 53. I know they had one other one as an undrafted free agent make the team as well. So yeah, I think those are they had a really good undrafted free agent class. I'll just put it that way. Keep an eye on Elijah Williams, Joe Huber, and Brosmer, the quarterback. I think they may have found some hidden gems, which it pains me to say, but credit to Kwesi there. I thought he did a really nice job in undrafted free agency. A little vomit in my mouth saying that. He and Logan Brown were favorites. Yeah, Logan Brown was another guy that Minnesota had as an undrafted free agent. He was released. I have not seen yet if he's back on Minnesota's practice squad or not. Would love Green Bay to bring him on their practice squad, to be honest. I said cut both quarterbacks and look for another option at QB3. Yep, we talked about that. I swear if that Twitter dog lied to us. Hopefully he didn't. Hopefully the Twitter dog is right. Micah Parsons coming to Green Bay. We'll see. Hey guys, hey Andy, wondering your thoughts on this idea to have a solid backup plan in case of Malik Willis leaving. Green Bay trades for Anthony Richardson and has him just study the playbook for the year. Yeah, I don't think it's probably worth doing right now. I just think the Colts are probably still going to have a price on that you don't want to pay at this point in time. And I don't have a huge appetite for getting a third quarterback on the 53 that you just have to roster to do absolutely nothing other than learn. I get the concept. It's not the worst idea in the world by any stretch of the imagination. I would probably be more interested in Anthony Richardson next year when that price probably drops. And, he's in a probably very similar situation that Malik Willis was in Tennessee. That's when I would look at it, probably then, not now. But I do like the idea of being able to get him some time with the playbook and just get him in Green Bay. But I think the cost is probably too high for what he's going to bring to you in this upcoming season. I will be participating in the Pick'em League, no question about it. If I win, then nobody gets the prize but me, baby. So absolutely, I'm participating. But yeah, hopefully I can win and represent. But yeah, I already have a team in there for sure. Only one quarterback claimed in Clifford and Elgersma not coming back. Would love Hendon Hooker for reasons. Yeah, I know what you mean. But yes, Hendon Hooker, Clayton Thune. There's a couple other ones. Hayner would have been one, but he's back in New Orleans already. But yeah, there's some fun quarterbacks out there. I'm interested to see who Green Bay ultimately ends up with. Considering what I have seen in Micah trade rumors on the X site, what would you say is a likely trade if Green Bay were to trade things for Micah? What I've kind of just had in my head is something like 2 first-round picks, Javon Bullard, Barron Sorrell, something like that. An edge rusher, maybe it's Enigbare, maybe it's Sorrell, maybe it's Colin Oliver, maybe it's probably not Colin Oliver because of the injury situation. Maybe it's Brenton Cox, but I think Sorrell would be the one that would obviously have the most value. But like Sorrell, Bullard, 2 firsts for Micah Parsons, and then like a 4th round pick in each of those years. So you get 2 fourths back in those given years. So you still have the same amount of draft picks. You're just moving down from the 1st to the 4th. You're giving away Javon Bullard, but you've got Zane Anderson. You've got obviously Kitano Ladapo there as well. You're not struggling at safety. You've got enough corners, and I'm not a huge Bullard in the slot guy anyway. So I think you can survive that. I think you can survive, obviously, the defensive end leaving because you've got Micah Parsons still coming in. I still want my edge rushers. I still want Gary. I want LVN. I want to be, if I'm going to bring in Parsons, I want to be able to create some really awesome pressure packages. So I don't have a huge appetite for trading away those guys in that deal. It wouldn't necessarily be a deal breaker, but if it's me, I'm going 2 firsts, Javon Bullard, and an edge rusher, maybe Barron Sorrell to kind of juice it just a little bit with a current 4th round pick. Whether that gets it done, I don't know. I would have discussions as well with Quay Walker. I feel like Tyron Hopper's ready to play, and I feel like you can put Micah Parsons there as well. So if they wanted another player that they could kind of come in and maybe be Micah Parsons light for the time being, like 2 firsts and Quay Walker, maybe something like that, I would listen to as well. But Bullard, Quay, Sorrell, Brenton Cox, Enigbare, players like that are who I would probably be looking to include a little bit more. And yes, I probably would be willing to give up the 2 firsts, and in an ideal world would like to get 2 4th round picks back in the same draft. So while I still don't have the premium picks, I still end up with the same amount of picks. And hell, Green Bay is cooked in the 4th round just as much, if not better, than they've cooked in the 1st round at times. So maybe you're not actually losing all that much in that scenario. That's kind of the deals that spin around in my head. Whether Dallas is yes, whether Green Bay would have an appetite for that, tough to say, but that's kind of where my mind goes when I kind of think about those potential deals. If it ain't Luigi's, Andy is firing shots at the workers. Laughing, that absolutely, no question about it. Is Reed going to get wide receiver 2 or 3? It does not matter. Reed, Wicks, Dobbs, Golden are going to play a lot. So don't, there's no wide receiver 1, 2, 3, or 4. Those 4 are all going to rotate in quite a bit. When Watson comes back, it's going to be a 5-man rotation, and you might see a smattering of Savion, Malik Heath, McCole Hardman, etc. But for the most part, when healthy, Reed, Wicks, Dobbs, Golden, and Watson are going to be your guys that get, I would say, probably pretty equal playing time amongst the 5, with all those guys rotating in, getting 35 to 40 snaps per game would be my guess. 21 years and counting for an undrafted free agent making the roster? Not yet. Stackhouse has to make it to week 1. If we're going to count Chris Barnes and we're going to count Braden Narvison, the only way that we can count those is if we're counting, because they didn't make the initial 53, they made the initial game day 53. So week 1, when the game was actually played, they made it then. So in order to keep the 21 streak alive, we have to see Stackhouse or a different undrafted free agent on that actual week 1 roster on the 53. It's trending in that direction. There were no claims today, so there seemingly is no reason to release Nasir Stackhouse at the moment, but he does have to make it to that week 1 roster in order for that streak to continue. What's up, Andy? I've been so busy today. Did we trade or sign anybody new? No, nobody new as of yet. No waiver claims, no trades. The Packers are signing. We just got a new one. Nick Nyman, a linebacker to the practice squad. So that's an interesting one. He is a veteran linebacker, special teams player. He's going to go to Green Bay's practice squad. So there's your first new player. Kalen King, by the way, is signing to the Carolina Panthers practice squad. So no longer in Green Bay, as expected, as reported. He is going to Carolina. And Nick Nyman, your newest Green Bay Packer, a member of the practice squad. That could be a, basically a Christian Welch type situation where maybe Welch wasn't going to come back to Green Bay's practice squad. They were able to get Nyman. That's probably about an apples for apples type of special teams swap there. So maybe they still get Welch as well, but Nick Nyman will be a core special teamer that they can call up off the practice squad at any point if they want to do that. I did not get to catch Nyman on the McAfee show. I didn't, unfortunately. I'll check that out as I'm driving around town today. Yesterday, you said you had sources saying there's smoke to the Parsons rumors. I did not say that. I'll clarify that in a moment. Schneidman just said there's no offer yet. Were your sources saying there was an offer or just interest from the Packers? So, said it on numerous occasions. I do not have sources. I have no actual legitimate real life sources. I had numerous people in my DMs yesterday, some football people, some, like I said, like kind of fringe-ish, unique football accounts. I'll just put it that way. And then some people that not even at all, just like, neighbors, gardeners, dog walkers, sisters, cousins, barbers sort of thing. Right. But a variety of people that I kind of trust to some extent that said that there have been offers, that said there have been contract negotiations, that said that there have been, that there have been details that have been hammered out on this thing, none of which I would put on paper and say, sources say this, this, and this. Nowhere near close to that, anything like that. But it was interestingly enough that there were at least 5 people, again, all throughout different spheres, that reached out to me with very different stories from very different walks of life, very different sources. That was all a very similar story overall. That's all I'll tell you. That's all I have. Again, I'm not reporting on that. I'm not saying it's verbatim. I told you yesterday, and I'll say it again today, extremely skeptical of everything. I put the percent chance at about 5% chance. I would trust Matt Schneidman and what he said on the McAfee show today over anything that I had pop up in my DMs yesterday. I will just say it's not usually something that happens. I've never experienced that where there've been that many things that have come across my timeline or across my messages, texts, DMs yesterday, like it happened yesterday, which also is just unique in and of itself, but no legitimate source that I'd be willing to put on the record and say, per my sources, anything like that. All I said is there was some real whispers that made it seem like there was maybe something there. It didn't seem like nothing. But again, I would go with whatever Matt Schneidman has sourced over anything that I got yesterday via messages or anything like that. Shoot, find me the Taco Bell that pays $1.6 million a year and sign me up. Yes, same here. Welcome in Paris anytime, Andy. Next spring after the Super Bowl win seems perfect. That'd be a great place to celebrate. No question about it. I like Schneidman a lot, but that was a terrible take on Goody and LaFleur. This is really the first year of the Super Bowl window they've been building. There's almost zero chance they fire each of them. I did not see it. I'd have to take a look at that. I've not seen that Deslin Alexander is back yet. I would assume that there's a good chance that he would be, but I've not seen it confirmed yet. Obviously, I've been here with you guys for the last 37 minutes, not keeping as close of an eye on it, but I will definitely take a look at it as soon as I'm done and see what other names are rumored to be, or not rumored, but reported to be on the practice squad. Before you did your little Luigi segments in your videos, you should say, and now for your only pans. The only pans is Susie Vidal. Is that Susie? Something like that. She does a great job, by the way. I sort of do get into the food TikToks and the food, reels and stuff. Susie Vidal, OnlyPans. I think I might be pronouncing her name wrong. Sorry, OnlyPans. Let me be very clear. Yeah, Susie Vidal, SUSIVIDL, VIDAL, excuse me. She does a video called OnlyPans. So she's got that already, and she does a great job with it. If you haven't found her, check her out. She does a really funny job. She does puns on everything that make it like an OnlyFans, but it's food related. Very, very funny account. Highly recommend it. Fair to say Hardman will be called up for the first 3 weeks of the season as the primary punt returner and then make a decision on him on the 53 after that. I would say week 1, I would lean towards that a little bit more, but I don't think it's a guarantee. I think he's still going to have to earn that, but I think that there's a real possibility that you could see him called up. And then 2 of your inactives would probably be Savion Williams and Malik Heath. Maybe they keep 6 active, but you're probably looking a little bit more towards 5. But yeah, it'll be interesting. And it certainly gives them an option to call him up as a punt returner if they want to. Any meetup with fans with the Bengals Packers game? My family is also going and are huge fans. Probably not. That's a weekend that I kind of set aside for my friends. We usually either go to a cabin on Saturday or just do some aggressive drinking in Green Bay. If you see me out aggressively drinking in Green Bay, feel free to come out and say hi. I don't know where I'll be as of yet, but if you see me, definitely say hello. But yeah, usually that's something I reserve a little bit more for my friends. I don't get much time with that, or, when I have those opportunities, I try to make the most of it for sure. Unfortunately, Parsons is a Cowboy. I can say how I know, but I know. Sorry, guys. All right. Well, for every Drew BDU that's out there, there's another 5 that are saying he is going to be a Packer. So again, I don't know what to trust. I would love to trust you, Drew, but we're just going to have to see what happens. And yes, I think you're probably in the more likely range of what the range of outcomes are here, is that he stays a Cowboy. But with anything, I kind of trust nothing at this point in time until I see something reported from Schefter or Rappaport or something like that. I'm excited for the season, but I do have my concerns about the early bye week. I think if I remember correctly, do have a mini bye week later, right? I think. Now I forget, like with all the other stuff, like the schedule stuff is like out of sight, out of mind right now. Yeah. Thursday, Thanksgiving, they go to Detroit. So they'll have a mini bye after that, which I think will be really, really important for them at that point in the season. So to get that little extra rest after week 13 going into week 14, I think that's going to pay huge dividends for them. And it leaves me a little bit more optimistic that they can kind of survive that early bye week. How do I feel about Israel as a running back? Sorry, I won't try to spell his last name. Abanaconda. I really, really liked him coming out. All right, we got a Silverstein notification. Mark McNevie has signed his offer to the Packers practice squad and will be their international pathway program player as a practice squad exemption. So Mark McNamee back with Green Bay per Tom Silverstein. I loved Abanaconda coming out of the draft. He was 20 years old coming out, super fast, super physical, athletic, everything that you wanted to see. Didn't work in New York, goes to San Fran. Every running back works in San Fran, doesn't work in San Fran, comes to Green Bay. Sweet. Love to see him. I'm excited to see him up close and personal. Still fast, still powerful, runs a little bit angry. To me, just my take on it, had no feel whatsoever. Didn't feel like he had any sort of pacing. Didn't feel like he had great vision. Just felt like he is a height, weight, speed guy that is just put out there and doesn't really have a great ultimate feel for the running back position, what you need to do. Not a great hands catcher, like some people, route runner, not great in pass protection. And I would like him back in the practice squad if they could get him back. But at the end of the day, just a lot of talent. And I think it's going to ultimately be unrecognized talent for him. Still really young, 22 years old. I think because of that, it's worth bringing into somebody's practice squad just to see if he can kind of make it at some point in time, because he is still so young still. But I just didn't see it. I would have definitely had the guys that they kept, as well as Amar Johnson ahead of Abanaconda going into the season. I was gifted a membership. Dreams really do come true. You're the best, Andy. Probably wasn't me that gifted it. It was probably, I know Carla has been gifting some memberships as well as others. So thank those that are in our weekly, whether it's, happy hours or the after practice chats. There've been a lot of memberships given out in those. So thank the people who have been giving out those memberships. You claim someone on waivers. Does your position waivers go down? It does not. It stays that way. It's not like a fantasy football or fantasy baseball or basketball waivers. It just stays where it's at. The Titans will have the number one waiver priority until, like week 7, 8, 9 after the trade deadline, maybe somewhere in that range where it resets at that point. And then then they reset the record every single week after that point in time, based on where you're at in the standings. We hear a lot of talk about Kenny Clark being a cap casualty next year. Under what circumstances does he stay on the team? It looks great. I mean, if he looks really, really good and no signs of decline, and he's one of the best defensive linemen on the team, you just bring him back. I mean, it's a performance-based business. If he looks good enough for that 20 mil plus contract that he can earn next year, he'll be back. And if he doesn't, if it looks like he's on the decline and injuries are catching up to him and it just doesn't look like the same Kenny Clark, he won't be. The injuries is the big thing to keep an eye on. Aaron Jones, before they let him go, had those 3 injuries the year before that limited him in a significant way. Those are always signs. Jair Alexander, before they released him, tons of injuries that limited him in significant ways. If all of a sudden you see Clark miss 7-8 weeks this year with various injuries, it's going to be a tell to Green Bay that, hey, his body's just starting to break down and we probably need to go in a different direction, regardless of where he's at from a play standpoint. If he plays 15, 16 games out of 17 plus playoffs and he looks really damn good, they're probably going to be like, all right, let's bring him back one more year. He hasn't shown any signs of decline and he's probably back on that deal. So to me, health and productivity is what will ultimately decide Kenny's fate next year. Will you say what the Parsons rumors that came to were? Obviously not talking about who gave them. Yeah, I talked about it yesterday. There were a couple different ones in the same range. Some that said that there had been terms agreed to, both with Parsons and the Packers. Others said that there were trade terms that were agreed to. The majority of people said that it was up to Parsons and Jerry Jones to sign off on it. Again, I take all of it with a grain of salt. I'm not reporting any of these things. This is just, back page rumor sort of stuff, heard through a person. Again, do not have sources with agents or teams to be able to say these things with any level of confidence or anything like that. But it was in that realm, the stuff that was said to me, again, by numerous people all around the same time from different sources. And it was just unique that it came that way. Make of it what you will. I don't take much stock into it overall. And like I said, give me about a 5% chance that he's a Packer. John, I will gladly forgive you. You are forgiven and do not need to apologize, my friend. To those non-members watching this later, you need to join this Q&A. Is one of the best things. It's a nice distraction when things get crazy. More than worth it. John, I really appreciate that and happy you're enjoying it. How do I do the Pick'em League? Go to the YouTube page. And out there is on the posts. If you do like the community posts, I have a post out there with the link. There's a password too, but I don't think you need the password if you use that specific link. Please do not share that link with anyone. But you can go to that link and sign up there for the members Pick'em League this year. And again, winner will get tickets to a Packers game next year or the monetary face value if you can't get to the game. Can I explain the waiver claim priority algorithm? If the Titans and Packers both put claims in and A and B, do the Titans get both? They get both. The Titans are the number one team because they were the worst team record-wise last year, the team with the number one pick, just based on draft order right now. So 1 through 32, not if there were picks traded, but prior to any trades, right? 1 through 32, where you would have picked if there were no trades or whatever, that's your waiver order. And it does not change up until, I forget what week it is, but at some point, I think it's after the trade deadline, but don't quote me on that. It's like week 7, 8, 9, somewhere in there, that once it reaches that point, now it's based on in-season record. So it's same thing, 1 through 32. Again, your waiver does not go to the end. If you're the worst team in football, you're the only team that's at 0-7 or whatever it is, you're going to be the top of the waiver claim, not Tennessee anymore. So it does change over at some point, but it again is based on your in-season record then, and again, does not change if you claim somebody. When players are waived early, can they be claimed early? No. I'm not exactly sure the scenario you'd be referencing, John, but no. If you're like, for every player that was waived yesterday, they all go to the same waivers today. For everyone that's waived today, they all go to the same waivers tomorrow. So no, there's no early waivers or anything like that. Just double checking. Do we get the quarterback on the practice squad? Hendon Hooker is going to the Panthers. Okay, Nick Neiman to the Packers. Okay, so just Hubert just said that they are going to be getting a new quarterback. Oh, it is Clayton Thune. All right, so Clayton Thune is coming to Green Bay, just making sure. All right, that was... Excuse me. All right. Now that that's out. All right, so they are signing Clayton Thune to the practice squad. Sorry for taking your time there, but I just wanted to double check it. So per Bill Huber, Clayton Thune is coming over to Green Bay. That's a cool signing for the Packers. I really like that one. And to me, a very clear upgrade from Sean Clifford and Taylor Elgersma, both in the ability to play right now and in high-end upside. I mean, if you're ranking like upsides here, Thune, Elgersma, Clifford, and Thune's well ahead. And if you're ranking who could play right now, Thune, and then well ahead of Clifford, then Elgersma. So this is a really nice signing to the practice squad for Green Bay. Can players on IR still go to meetings, watch film, etc.? I believe yes, but I have to double check that up. I'm pretty sure the answer is yes. Who actually tells the players that are going to be released? Matt, Goody, the coordinators. It must really suck for everyone involved. I actually don't know the exact logistics of that, if Goody and Matt are in the room or if that's just a Matt LaFleur discussion. I know Matt is involved with it, but I don't know the exact logistics, again, of who is in that room in that situation. What third string quarterback are we getting? Yeah, Clayton Thune. There you go. Celebratory Luigi's Pizza for everyone. If Micah comes to Green Bay, I'm all for that. Yep, Nyman is signed. We talked about the Pick'em League. Yes, Nyman was the star of the Chargers special teams a few seasons ago. He is definitely a very elite. Well, he was an elite special teams player, still very, very good at it. With all the talk of policy putting Matt and Brian on the hot seat, are you worried he's getting too involved in football operations, concerned he might send us back to the 80s? No and no. I do not believe Matt and Brian are on the quote unquote hot seat. My personal take on it, my read on it. Here's my read. Ed Policy was asked if he's going to be doing contract extensions for Matt and Goody this year before, anytime this offseason or this year. And he said, no, we are not doing any extensions at this time. If I had to guess, I don't know this for a fact. If I had to guess, Green Bay probably handles their coach contracts very similarly to player contracts. If you have 2 years left, we're not discussing it. Once you get to the final year of your deal, we're going to have those contract negotiations. I would assume that it's the exact same way that they handle players, that they handle coaches. And I would assume that Matt and Brian are very understanding because they do the same thing to the players. So they wouldn't normally be having those conversations yet. It would take place after the season. It's usually you don't want your GM and coach going into a lame duck year. So you make that decision this upcoming offseason as to whether or not you want to extend them or not. And the only way that there is a hot seat here in Green Bay is if things go catastrophically bad. And for Ed Policy, it makes sense that, hey, I just got in this role. Mark has been in the main seat, making all the decisions, observing everything. I would love to observe everything for a year. And if everything goes well, playoffs or even maybe just a game out of the playoffs or whatever, yeah, we're all good. Everyone's going to get their extensions. As long as I see everything trending in the right direction, going the right way, there's no major flaws or issues within the organization, we're good to go. If by some chance I see some real cracks in the foundation, not even I'm talking record-wise, but there's some real issues and, whatever it might be, whether it be front office, coaches, whatever, I either need to fix that, course correct it, or we need to go in a different direction. Or if there's a 2-15 season incoming, all right, then we're going to have to go probably in a different direction as well. I do not believe there is a hot seat for either of those gentlemen at all. I do not believe there should be a hot seat for either of those gentlemen. And the only way that it happens is a catastrophic season for Green Bay, which I can't imagine anyone in this room would be hoping or cheering for. So they'll get their extensions this offseason, barring a cataclysmic collapse by this team. And hopefully we don't have to live through the multiverse that exists if that is the case. So I don't think there's a hot seat, and I think they'll both get contract extensions next offseason. Market here first, Andy. Matthew Golden will be a fantasy football hit and our wide receiver one. I don't see it. That's not a diss on Matthew Golden. That is more just way too many mouths to feed in this offense. But if you're right, I will gladly own up to it. And I hope you are right, Game Boy, that he is just that good and an absolute stud. And I'm certainly not going to say no to that. Oh, interesting. It is not practice squad for Nyman per Bill Huber. It is the active roster for Nyman. Interesting. So that changes things. So that means there does need to be a corresponding move. I would assume that we're going to get a IR designated to return for either Zane Anderson or Baron Sorrell. That would be my guess. But yes, interesting that it's an active roster and not a practice squad player. I have to go back and listen to that yet. Again, I don't think that's the case, but I'll have to go back and listen to what he said. Let's give up on Parsons. We have our rushers on the team. I don't think we need to give up on it, but it's probably very unlikely to happen. Was surprised they kept Mike Robinson over Kalen King and Ballantyne. Talked about that at length today on the show. So definitely go check that out. Not surprised by either. Ballantyne's a vested veteran, would have been guaranteed for the entire year. Kalen King, slot only, no real special teams value. And They've now cut him twice. He's not claimed twice. Just not a lot of value for that type of player. Slot only, non-special teams, non-high-end athlete. That's that's not a prototype type player that you want on your 53-man roster more often than not. Thought he played well. I had him on my 53 projection. Would not have been shocked or surprised if he was, but no way am I shocked or surprised that he wasn't. And Micah Robinson being able to play outside corner and having better athletic traits, there's just way more value for that type of player than there is usually for a Kalen King type. Anyone else starting to suspect Andy only built up this Packer channel as a cover so he has a platform to talk about Luigi's? Happy hump day, everyone. No, but it is a nice aside that I get to talk about something that I truly love in Luigi's Pizza. I love my friends over at Habish and Rotier as well. They're just awesome people. So if you need a personal injury attorney, hopefully you don't, but if you do, check out over at habish.com as well. Going to be looking for you aggressively drinking while I'm aggressively drinking that weekend of the Bengals game. Amy, definitely feel free to say hello. Would love to meet you in person. And if you see me out, I'll probably be wearing the pink hat or something similar. So I will not be hard to spot. It's weird to not like the vibes from Parsons. I get the talent and the vision, but it would seem weird seeing Green Bay aggressively go after him. I'm not a believer in that with Parsons. I think he's a elite player, and I think he's just pissed off with Dallas at the moment. I think that's why you're seeing those Parsons vibes. I don't think he is a prima donna. I don't think he thinks he's better than the team. He is a winner. He wants to go out and dominate. He's one of the best of the best. I think he would fit in very well with Green Bay. And yeah, I think I don't have any concerns about that at all. Number 6 is available. Give Reed number 6 so Mikey can wear 11. Sure, I'm cool with that. Hey, there we go. We have another Susie Vidal fan and Only Pans. I got to be careful how I say that. Only Pans. So yes, there you go. Yes, we talked about Nyman. Yes, Hardman is on the practice squad. My boss is a Cowboys fan and friend is an Eagles fan. If we trade for Parsons, we're going to troll him to no end. Love that for you, Elite Chicken. Are there any players that were cut that the Packers could add to their 53 to add depth at corner? They would have claimed them if they did. So there were no claims by Green Bay. Anything would just be practice squad at this point. Tune was Golden's quarterback. Good point. That's a really good point, Fred. Didn't think of that. So for those, Tune was Golden's quarterback coach his freshman year at quarterback his freshman year at Houston. 2 weeks away from legit Packers football. Not even landed. Don't make me go back 2 weeks. We're a week and a half, my friend. We're closer than that. So week and a half away. Our friends do need to get out of here. Going to get to practice, or not practice, but Goody talking at 2 p.m. So do got to wrap things up here. I will see you guys all very, very soon. Happy Hour Friday at noon. That'll probably be our next live event unless we get a breaking Micah Parsons chat, which, hey, you never quite know. I will talk to you guys then. We'll speak it into existence. But until next time, and as always, go Pack Go. And thank you so much for being Pack-A-Day Podcast YouTube members.